What's up, my people, and welcome to the channel. My name is Diamond, and today I want to discuss, should you wait to invest until you pay your car off, or should you do both? And I don't want to just talk about the theory around this. I want to introduce some real life situations, and I'm going to talk about how I made my decision when I was faced with this exact question, how it worked out for me, and if I could do it all over again, would I do anything different? I'm also interested to hear your thoughts on this, so at any time, leave your comments down below. If you're an existing subscriber, then thank you for supporting the channel. If this is your first time catching one of my videos, I encourage you to click the subscribe button so that you can join the community, where I don't just try to give information. I try to connect it to emotion and experiences that we all face in the real world. Let's kick this off with the argument for doing both, where you start investing while you're paying off the car. And when you hear this argument, it normally go a little something like this. Look, you have a car loan over here at 2% interest. So it's better to take your extra money, instead of putting it on that car and getting it paid off earlier, what you should do is take that money and put it out in the market, get it invested so that it can start working for you. You can make 10% on that money. And since the car is only 2%, that 8%, that's money in your pocket. It's as if the bank is like paying you to have a car loan. In fact, it would be mathematically incorrect for you to take a large sum of money and put it on your debt, because when you run the numbers, that money would grow to a much larger sum for you if you had it invested. And this all sounds great, and the math may even work out for you. But the problem is, we live in the real world. I live in the real world. And so I know things don't always go as you plan. And then you start bumping that up against things that we know. Things like the stats that say that 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So do you really have that extra money to invest? And then do you have the behavior and the mindset to stay consistent with investing that money every single month so that at the end it works out the way it looked on paper before you started? And the answer to this is maybe. But something else you have to think about is that debt has an inherent risk with it. So when you have debt, you have to worry about things like, what happens if you lose your job and you can't make the payments? The bank still want their money. That can cause stress. That can cause problems in your life. Things like your investment. What happens if your investment lose money? You could end up losing on all sides, where your investments are down for the year. The car, you're losing money because you're paying interest on the loan, which is just a penalty for borrowing. The car is also depreciating in value, so you're losing money there. Now you're losing money on all sides. And when you take a closer look at the data, you see things that's pretty staggering. Like according to LendingTree, the average car payment in America is $550 for a new vehicle. And the average interest rate is 8.06%. So that's a far cry from, oh, I'm getting 0% or 1% or 2% to 8%. And they say as high as 21% for some borrowers. So the concept that you're going to have a low interest car loan, or that a car loan is always low interest and you can just invest money and make the difference, is just flawed from the beginning. And when you incorporate the fact that Americans take out $51 billion worth of car loans every single month, and we have a total of $1.2 trillion in auto loan debt, just over $1 trillion in credit card debt, over $1.5 trillion in student loan debt, you start seeing there's a lot of debt out there. So we might not actually even have the money to pay all our debts and invest. As a matter of fact, our debts may be the reason why we're not investing. So again, the theory sounds great and the math may look pretty, but when you start applying it to the real world, it starts to break down. Now, like I said in the beginning, I don't want to just make a video about stats and figures where I'm just throwing numbers at you. Let's talk real world. Let's bring some emotion into the discussion, because I live in a real world where emotion is a part of every financial decision we make. And let's face it, sometimes it can cloud our decision-making ability. Let's talk about the time I went out and bought a brand new truck. I financed $40,000 with no money down for 84 months. My monthly payment was $568. And this may sound bad, but it really was a good thing. It was truly a life-changing situation, because it was around this time that I started getting more serious about my finances, started thinking about my retirement more. It was then that I was faced with the question, pay off the car loan or invest? And I did what I think a lot of people do. I immediately started looking at the numbers and saying, well, I can invest this much And if I start investing now, then that's compound interest. It's going to be able to turn into this. And once the truck get paid off, then I'll be able to add that in. And it's just going to snowball up and everything is going to be looking real pretty for me in the future. But then I made the mistake. I made a mistake of calculating the interest that I would earn if I invested my truck payment over the next 10 years and over the next 30 years. And over 10 years, that $40,000 truck would turn into over $100,000 invested at 10%. And over 30 years, that's over $1 million. And that had me like, maybe I don't need to be driving a $40,000 truck. Maybe instead of trying to find some extra money to invest, maybe I should get rid of this $40,000 truck so that I can use that money to invest and progress in my retirement planning. Now, I'm looking at this loan and 84 months is a long time. That's 7 years. So the idea of like not investing for 7 years while I just make the extra payments, that just didn't sit well with me. Like once you do the numbers and you see what investing can do for you, it's hard for you to sit there and say, yeah, you know what? That sounds good, but I'm just not going to do it. I'll wait. Nah, I started thinking about what if I paid the car off in 6 years or 5 years? And I got super focused and intense on like getting this thing paid off. And I actually made a video and I talked about how I was able to get the truck paid off in 34 months, which is 50 months ahead of schedule. And not only that, I also made a video on how I use principal payments versus the monthly payments to help that and make that happen. So I got busy paying the car off. And some interesting things started to happen. I started thinking like, once the car's paid off, that's an instant raise. Because now that $568, that stays with me. Plus all the extra money I've been using to throw at this car to get it paid off. On top of that, I'm getting a guaranteed rate of return that's equal to the interest rate on the car. So before I even invest, I'm better off. Not to mention when I get to investing, I'm gonna have more money to invest and more money to save. So once the car was completely paid off, something happened that was a game changer. I didn't see it coming. I'm thankful that it did. And that's the mental shift that occurred during the time that I was getting out of debt. My thought process around credit, debt, money, investing, everything had changed. And the rate of return that I'll get on that shift in mindset is larger than any mutual fund, ETF, cryptocurrency, silver, gold, whatever you can think of to invest in. The rate of return that I get by the new mindset and the way I move now with my finances is going to outperform any investment. And now I'm like, that truck was expensive, but you know what? I think the next one I buy, no, let me take that back. The next car I buy, I'll be able to pay cash for it. Why? Because now I have more money. So when I see people who say you should keep your car loan and use your extra money to invest, I think you can't practice what you preach. Like, why would I want a slice of the pie when I can have the whole pie? Have you done the math to see what a car payment turns into over an adult lifespan? Until next time, I'm Diamond.